Have you ever felt someone slip away from your life so suddenly that it left you questioning everything? One day they were there, present, connected, and then something shifted. The conversations became distant. The warmth disappeared. The bond you thought was unbreakable simply broke. And in that moment of confusion and pain, you wondered if you had done something wrong, if you had pushed too hard, or if you simply weren't enough. But what if I told you that what felt like loss was actually love? What if the very thing that broke your heart was God stepping in to guard your future? What you experienced wasn't abandonment. It was intervention. God didn't allow that connection to continue because He saw what it would cost you down the road. By the end of this message, you'll understand why God stepped in when He did, and why His protection sometimes comes disguised as separation. Standing at the threshold of a new year, many of you are carrying the weight of relationships that ended, connections that faded, and bonds that were severed in ways you never expected. The calendar may promise fresh beginnings, but your heart still holds the questions from seasons that felt more like endings than new starts. You've prayed for clarity. You've searched for answers. You've wondered if God was even paying attention when everything fell apart. But beloved, this is where the enemy wants to keep you, trapped in the belief that what happened to you was random, cruel, or somehow your fault. You didn't cause this. You weren't asking for too much when you hoped for consistency. You weren't being unreasonable when you expected the same energy you were giving. You didn't miss some obvious red flag that everyone else could see. You didn't fail to love properly or communicate correctly. The distance that grew between you and that person wasn't because you weren't worthy of their presence. You didn't push them away by caring too much or wanting too little. The silence that replaced what used to be constant communication wasn't because you said the wrong thing at the wrong time. What happened was that God intervened. While your heart was building bridges, heaven was setting boundaries. While you were hoping for restoration, God was orchestrating protection. While you were trying to fix what felt broken, the Lord was preventing what could have destroyed you. The confusion you felt when they started pulling away wasn't because you couldn't read the situation correctly. It was because your spirit was sensing divine interference, and that never feels natural to the human heart. You loved someone that God was removing from your path, and that creates a tension that few people understand. Your emotions were real. Your connection was genuine. Your hopes were valid. But God's vision was clearer. He saw the trajectory of that relationship in ways your heart couldn't perceive. He witnessed the subtle compromises that were beginning to form. He noticed the peace that was slowly draining from your life. He observed how your prayers were changing, how your joy was diminishing, how your focus was shifting away from Him and toward them. And this is where most people misunderstand what God was doing. God separates to protect, not to punish. When the Almighty begins to create distance between you and another person, it's not because He wants to see you suffer in loneliness. It's because He refuses to watch you suffer in the wrong connection. Divine intervention often looks like doors closing, communication stopping, and access being blocked to what your heart thinks it needs. But God's protection operates on a timeline your emotions cannot see. He saw the version of yourself you were becoming in that relationship, and He loved you too much to let you stay there. God witnessed how you were starting to dim your light to match their energy. He observed how you were beginning to question your worth based on their inconsistency. He watched you slowly abandoning your standards to accommodate their limitations. The Lord saw you changing your prayers from gratitude to desperation, from worship to worry, from seeking His will to begging for theirs. God blocked what your heart couldn't release because He knew that your love would have kept you there long past the expiration date of what was healthy. Your capacity to forgive would have excused behavior that was slowly eroding your peace. Your hope would have kept building on a foundation that was never meant to support your future. Your loyalty would have anchored you to someone who was drifting away from the very purposes God had called you both to fulfill. When the Almighty removes someone from your life, He's not taking away your blessing. He's removing your burden. The relationship that felt like it was supposed to be your answered prayer was actually becoming your distraction from what God really had in store. The connection that seemed like divine alignment was slowly pulling you out of divine alignment. What looked like love was becoming a limitation on the love God wanted to pour into your life. God didn't take something from you. He took something off you. The weight of trying to make the wrong person stay. The pressure of performing for someone's affection. The exhaustion of giving more than you were receiving. The anxiety of never knowing where you stood. The confusion of mixed signals and unclear intentions. The pain of loving someone who couldn't love you the way your soul needed to be loved. This is where God's intervention becomes a gift that initially feels like grief. Your peace left because God was protecting it from being completely destroyed. That anxiety you felt wasn't a sign of your weakness or your inability to trust. It was your spirit responding to an environment that wasn't designed for your flourishing. The unease you experienced in their presence wasn't because you were overthinking or being too sensitive. It was because God's Spirit within you was recognizing what didn't belong in your life. The sleepless nights weren't because you were being dramatic. They were because your soul knew something your mind hadn't yet accepted. The constant need to explain yourself wasn't because you were bad at communication. It was because you were trying to translate your heart to someone who spoke a different language entirely. The feeling that you were walking on eggshells wasn't because you were difficult to love. It was because you were in a space that required you to minimize yourself to maintain false peace. God saw all of this, and His love for you demanded action. Divine protection doesn't always feel protective in the moment. Sometimes it feels like loss, like punishment, like abandonment. But the Father's love is willing to endure your temporary misunderstanding in order to secure your permanent well-being. He allowed your heart to break temporarily to prevent your spirit from breaking permanently. This is where God's protection becomes clear. The person He removed wasn't your missing piece. They were the obstacle to your peace. The relationship He ended wasn't your destination. It was your detour from your destiny. The connection He severed wasn't your source of completion. It was the thing that was slowly emptying you of the wholeness you already possessed in Him. As you stand on the edge of this new year, God wants you to understand that His intervention in your relationships is always about His intention for your life. Every closed door, every ended connection, every person He removes from your path is His way of clearing the road for what He's prepared specifically for you. You are not behind schedule because someone left. You are right on time because God stepped in.